Welcome to Lucid Dread, the channel where nightmares sound like memories you've forgotten. Here we don't just tell horror stories. We explore the dark corners of consciousness, where logic fades and fear becomes real. Tonight's story takes us back to a place that should have felt safe. A school. But not every classroom is meant for learning. Some rooms remember, some rooms whisper back. Have you ever noticed how every school has that one locked classroom, the one no one talks about? Maybe you've passed it before, thinking you heard something inside. A chair scrape, a soft laugh, a knock that echoes a little too long. In this story, a transfer student named Lena Hart discovers that her new high school hides a secret. Room 404, a classroom erased from the map, sealed after an incident years ago. But one night, she finds the door unlocked. What she finds inside doesn't belong to the world outside those walls. So turn off the lights. Put your headphones on, because once you hear the whispers from room 404, you'll never forget them. This is Lucid Dread. Lena Hart was used to moving. New towns, new schools, new faces. Her father's job meant no roots, just a series of temporary homes. But Westbrook High was different. The moment she stepped through the gates, the air felt heavier, like a storm waiting to break. The building was massive, with long hallways that smelled of old varnish and humidity. Students whispered about an old section of the school that had been closed off years ago. Lena brushed it off. Every school had rumors, but on her first day, her homeroom teacher, Mr. Calhoun, seemed distracted. When Lena asked why one corridor was sealed behind steel doors labeled maintenance, his smile faltered. "That area's condemned," he said quickly. "Stay away from it." At lunch, she sat alone until a girl named Amber approached her. "You're in Calhoun's class, right?" she asked. "Then you're right next to it." Lena frowned. "Next to what?" Amber leaned in. "Room 404. They say no one's supposed to remember it." That night, Lena couldn't sleep. Something about Amber's tone replayed in her mind. She Googled Westbrook High Room 404, but nothing came up. No photos, no mentions, just a blank page, like it had been erased. The next day, while heading to class, Lena noticed a faint hum in the maintenance wing. It was soft, like a whisper through static. She pressed her ear to the cold metal door and froze. Someone on the other side whispered her name. The next morning, Lena couldn't shake the feeling of that whisper. It wasn't imagination. She knew what she'd heard. Her name, drawn out like someone remembering it from long ago. Between classes, she found the same corridor. The maintenance sign hung crooked, covered in dust. No cameras, no teachers nearby. Her curiosity clawed at her reason. She reached for the handle. It was cold, locked. But as she turned to leave, the lock clicked. A slow metallic creak echoed down the hallway as the door slid open on its own. Inside, the air smelled of mildew and old paper. The lights flickered weakly, revealing cracked tiles and broken desks. It looked like a classroom, abandoned mid-lesson. On one of the desks lay an old attendance sheet. The ink was faded, but Lena could make out the last name, Hart. Her blood ran cold. Before she could move, the classroom door slammed shut behind her. The lights buzzed violently, and a faint voice began humming. The same tune her mother used to sing when she was little. The chalkboard at the front slowly filled with words written by invisible hands. "You were supposed to stay." Heart racing, Lena backed away until she hit the wall. The hum stopped. Everything went dark. Then the bell rang. She blinked, and suddenly she was standing in the hallway again, surrounded by students hurrying to class. The door to room 404 was sealed once more. Lena stood frozen. No one seemed to notice her shaking hands. When she turned toward the nearest window, she saw her reflection, and behind her, faintly in the glass, a second Lena staring back. By now, Lena couldn't focus on anything. The whispers followed her, faint, rhythmic, almost patterned. When she asked Amber about room 404 again, Amber grew pale. "You shouldn't talk about it," she whispered. "They'll hear you." "They?" Lena pressed. Amber didn't answer. After school, Lena snuck into the library archives. She found a folder labeled Westbrook Renovation 2009. Inside were blueprints, 12 rooms per wing, but a 13th crossed out in red, 404. Under reason for closure, someone had scribbled incident, do not disclose. At the bottom of the folder was a photograph. It showed a class of students, faces smiling under flickering fluorescent light. In the back row, Lena. She dropped the photo. Her hands trembled. It couldn't be her. But the resemblance was perfect, even the small scar near her eye. Suddenly, the overhead lights dimmed. The photo slid across the table by itself, stopping right at the edge. A child's voice whispered from behind her. "You came back." Lena spun around. The library was empty. Then she noticed the computer on the corner desk. Turned on, screen flickering. The file open on it was named Attendance 404 Doc. There were 20 names. The last one had just appeared. Lena Hart, present. That night, Lena dreamed of sitting in room 404. Every desk was occupied by silent students, all wearing her face. Each version of her turned slowly to look at her as the overhead lights buzzed and flickered. "Why did you leave us?" they whispered in unison. She woke up gasping, sweat soaking her sheets. But her window was open. From outside, faint voices echoed, children laughing and one crying softly. At school, things got stranger. Teachers forgot her name. Her locker combination stopped working. Her ID card showed static when scanned. At lunch, Amber avoided her completely. Lena followed her into the restroom. "Why are you pretending you don't know me?" Lena demanded. Amber froze, eyes wide. "Because you're not supposed to be here," she whispered. "You're one of them." Lena backed away, trembling. "One of who?" Amber pointed toward the window. Lena turned. Outside, through the glass, she saw room 404 reflected in the building opposite. Lights flickering, silhouettes moving. But when she looked back, the reflection was gone. Lena returned to the old corridor long after everyone had gone home. The hallways were dark except for the occasional flicker of dying fluorescent lights. Her footsteps echoed, blending with the faint hum that had haunted her since she'd first heard her name whispered through the door. This time, she wasn't afraid. She just needed answers. The maintenance sign hung by one screw now, swinging slightly as though waiting for her. She reached out, her palm trembling against the cold metal door. The moment she touched it, it opened, smoothly, silently, like it had been expecting her. Inside, the classroom was spotless, dust-free, desks aligned in perfect symmetry. The smell of chalk and ozone hung thick in the air. On the board, glowing faintly under a flickering tube light, was a single message. "Welcome back, Lena. You're late for class." The projector in the corner buzzed to life on its own. A faint film began to play, students sitting in those same seats, faces blurred in the light. Then one by one, their features sharpened. They were all her. Dozens of Lenas turned their heads toward her in unison. Their lips moved together. "You were supposed to stay." Lena stumbled back, heart pounding. "This isn't real," she screamed. But the projector Lena stood up on the screen, smiling calmly. "Reality is attendance," she said softly. "And you've been marked present." The classroom grew darker. Shadows stretched from every corner, pulling toward her, whispering in distorted echoes of her own voice. The floorboards creaked. Desks twisted like skeletal arms. The blackboard cracked down the center, and from within the crack, a faint light spilled out, blinding, white, and endless. Lena stepped closer. "What are you?" she whispered. A voice, her own, replied from everywhere at once. "I'm the part of you that stayed behind." She reached out to touch the light. The world folded in on itself. Days later, the school reopened that wing. The janitor found room 404 locked again, though faint scratching sounds could still be heard from within. On the door, a new nameplate had been added beneath the dust. Ms. L. Hart, homeroom teacher, room 404. Soft static fades in. A single note of piano hums under the narration. "You've just heard whispers in room 404, a story about memory, identity, and the thin walls that separate us from the ghosts we used to be. Sometimes, the past doesn't haunt us. We haunt it." Room 404 was never about a classroom. It was about that one part of your mind that refuses to close the door. The part that keeps reliving moments, replaying mistakes, rewriting history until it becomes something else. Something alive. In Lena's case, the school simply remembered her better than she remembered herself. Maybe it still does. Maybe every empty desk you've passed in your old school still carries the shape of someone who never left. When the lights go out, and the echo of laughter drifts through those hollow halls, are they remembering you? Or Are you remembering them? This is Lucid Dread, where every story is a reflection, where every nightmare is a place you've already been, and every whisper sounds just a little too familiar. If stories like this linger in your head long after they end, you're in the right place. Subscribe for more psychological horror, stories, true nightmare narratives, and haunting tales that think before they scare. Every week, Lucid Dread opens another door, and all you have to do is step through. Until next time, keep your lights dim, your mind open, and whatever you do, if you ever see a classroom numbered 404, don't go in. Soft whisper under the fade out. Attendance complete.